I know your credits and your life has been full and long, but I'm going to just bring it down to a couple paragraphs so we can get right into the questions that I'm dying to ask you, or I'm so excited to ask you. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Gladys, I know that you're the co-founder of the American Holistic Medical Association. You're also a medical doctor. You're a centurion mother of 6, grandmother and great grandmother to not only your own children, but to countless other people's children, which is so important in life to have those young people in our sphere. To have life around us is so important.
Right.
I want people to know that in 1946 you became a medical doctor in Ohio at a time when women found it very difficult, if not impossible, to be admitted into medical schools. And then over the past 60 years, you pioneered a new way of thinking about disease and health that has transformed the way we imagine healthcare and self-care around the world. What I love most about you is your endless, endless belief in dreams. And what I wanted to call this interview is that dreams don't have deadlines. Dreams are what spark us to move forward. And after you have already written 6 and self-published books, you received your first literary contract at age 101. I think that is such a blast. Everybody that I say that to goes, "What?" Well, now at 103, you've given over 250 recorded interviews on your new book with a full publishing house, The Well-Lived Life. Dr. Dallas, you got to be kidding me. You're a wonder. And and what fun our listeners are going to have when they get to hear your answers to these questions. So I'm going to roll right into it. Dr. Gladys, before we begin, though, I want to frame this time we have together by asking you, what would you like people to learn from this conversation we're having right now?
What's going on right now? That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I mean, both in the world and for us personally, because the moment now is the most important moment in the world.
I agree. Well, that's what we'll focus. I want to ask you first, what are your childhood memories? Tell me about the memory that you have of growing up as a young person. You were in India, right?
I was in India, my mother went into labor with me at the Taj Mahal and almost died in the process, and we both survived. And since she couldn't nurse me because she was so sick, I had buffalo's milk.
Maybe that's why you're so strong.
I don't know what that does to one's first psyche, but that's what I had.
Well, what about as a teenager? What are your memories of being a teenager?
Of being a teenager?
Yes.
Well, I enjoyed being a teenager. I was in India at Woodstock School up in the Himalayas, and my friends were my friends, and we had people from all over the world because the school had been going for 200 years for the children of missionary parents around the world. And so I had friends from Burma and all around. It was a wonderful time. My teenagers, we had a good time.
Did you ever get in trouble?
All the time.
I love it. Me too. I think we have that in common. In your early childhood in India, I read somewhere, which I did not know, that you had a chance encounter with Mahatma Gandhi. Do you have any recollection of that experience?
Oh yeah, that's there's certain experiences in your life which are just there. You can kind of conjure them up anytime. No, I was 10 years old, and we were on the way. I was in the train on the way back to the United States because every 6.5 years, my parents they got to go back home and see their families and so on. So, so I was leaving India and I didn't want to. I didn't know what this America place was, and I really was sad about leaving India. So I was in the train with my face pasted up against the window, and as we moved into a station, one of the train stations, and the train slowed down, and there were a huge crowd outside. But there are always crowds in India, so that wasn't any big thing. However, right at the head of the crowd, this crowd of people, there was a thin, small man walking with a staff in his hand and dressed in a dhoti, the loincloth. And people were chanting Gandhiji, Gandhiji, Gandhiji. So I knew it was Mahatma Gandhi. And as he came right in line with where my face was placed against the window, he reached down and got hold of a little flower that a little girl was giving him and looked up. And as he looked up, he looked straight into my eyes and I into his. And it was a point of some kind of deep soul recognition that for a 10-year-old kid was like, whoa. And I think it carried on when my parents were working with Mahatma Gandhi during the partition, when India was torn apart and the Hindus were killing the Mohammedans and Mohammedans killing, all of that hard time in India. And my parents were working with Mahatma Gandhi, helping the people to understand something about themselves. So somehow I think there was a connection that started.
Yeah.
I looked into his eyes and he looked into mine, and we recognized each other.
From either the current or past lives, you know?
Uh-huh.
What a beautiful experience. I thank you so much for sharing it. It reminds me just a little bit when I met the Dalai Lama. We sort of had the same experience when he was in Tucson, and I was attending a luncheon, and I was on one of the front tables, and I just looked up at him, and I noticed he was looking at me, and I looked at him, and then I went like this, and he did the same thing back to me, like this, and then we just gave each other the sign of love and peace. You know, so those little moments are very special.
Yeah.
So, speaking of special moments, do you remember your first love? And if you do, can you tell us about it? When you first fell in love?
My first what?
Love.
Love. Oh, well, I was running around in the villages of North India, and the village kids they were all my friends, you know, so I loved them all. And they were busy trying to get the white color off of my arm.
A white collar off your arm?
Well, I was a white person and they're brown people.
Oh, okay. Now I get it. They were trying to get your white collar. And
Yeah,
so
they
then,
were,
and did you find
yeah.
somebody you fell in love with there?
Oh, well, I loved them all. They were all my friends. And so, but I guess the first one that I was in high school, and Evans Wyatt was in my class, and he came up to me and he said, Gladys, I'd like a picture of you. And it took me by such surprise enough that I said, oh, Evans, go fish in the Ganges River. I mean, you know, that's how sophisticated I was.
How sweet. Well, I was just, I love the way people have their stories of, falling in love the first time or their
Yeah,
first kiss or whatever. And, it's something that most of us never forget, right? And so
yeah.
there's your story. So tell me about your first patient. You're a doctor. Do you recall your first patient and what that was like for you to actually be practicing medicine on a real human being?
My first patient was my dolls.
Oh, I
They,
love that.
when my sister and I were, her dolls never got sick. She wouldn't let me touch them because when I got my dolls, they had something happen to them. And then I'd have to fix that something. So my dolls were the ones that I worked with trying to fix whatever it was that I had conjured up that was wrong with them. So my first
That's so cute.
were these dolls, but I don't remember my first patient because in medical school we had the opportunity to have different patients at different times.
Sure,
And
sure.
it was an ongoing process of learning. And we were learning about the disease process, not very much about the patient.
Mm,
So I don't really remember that first patient because it wasn't the patient that I was looking for, it was the disease. And so it's a real different um, perspective than what I actually had when I began working with my patients.
right. Well, that's interesting. And I know that you've been a midwife, a doctor that delivers babies. Do you remember that first baby catch? Do you remember catching your first baby and what that was like?
No,
No.
because we were, uh, it's very difficult to go back into the learning process
Mm,
of what it was like
yeah.
and the process that when I actually was taking care of a mother who was having her baby, and because each one of them really was so special. When that baby, when I worked with the mother and the point at which the baby took its first breath, I swear I heard the angels sing. And it was that with all of them. So I have no first one. It's a matter of how we, things happen and we either get over them or we live through them. And in the process of living through them, they become part of who and what we are. And so in that process, the whole um, work with birthing for me was each one was so special that it was different, but it was important because it was special.
Mm.
I don't
I,
think any one was more special than any other.
yeah. Well, especially if you're hearing angels sing with the first breath. My God, Dr. Gladys. Not only is it poetic, it gave me goosebumps because that first life, that first breath of life.
Right.
And oh gosh, I'm still having chills with what you just said.
Yeah.
So profound. I know that you have been seeing you have people that still want to come see you as their doctor because they just love your care and your personal care that you give to them individually. When you see someone in pain, either mentally, physically, what advice do you give those people that are hurting or in pain?
Well, it depends entirely on the patient. It depends entirely on the interaction at that time. because it's like my eldest son, when he came through Phoenix, he'd finished his internship and all of that, and he was starting his first practice in Del Rio, Texas. And he said, Mom, I'm real scared. I'm going to go into the world. I'm going to have people's lives in my hand. I don't know if I can handle that. And I said to him, well, Carl, if you think you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But if you can understand that it's your job to contact the physician within that patient who is your colleague, and he's your partner in this healing process. So as you work with that inner healing aspect of your patient, you're working with the divine process of healing that will go on when you, as you turn this whole concept of healing over to the patient themselves. It's not that you're giving up on the patient, it's that you're giving them the opportunity to be your colleague in the healing process.
You know, you give me something to think about deeply, Dr. Gladys. You know, when I have friends that, they're in pain, and perhaps not trying to help them by making the pain go away, instead having them look within themselves to find that healer to get through that troubled time.
Yes, to reach that point of love and life, which is what that healing process is, because love is a great healer. Love is the most important medicine. It's connecting love and life as we work with the process of healing. As we realize that and work with these aspects of what life is all about, that the healing starts and continues.
Yeah. It truly does. That's, like I said, you give me so much to think about, Gladys. Thank you. If there's
about as we live our lives.
There's a question that almost everybody gets asked once in a while in their life, especially famous people like yourself. If you could go back in time and have a cup of tea and a conversation with one person, who would that person be, and what would you want to ask?
It would be Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She and I were such good friends, and we used to even share a platform, a speech platform, because she would talk about being birthed into the other dimension, and I would be talking about being birthed into this dimension. And so it was that kind of a conversation that never ended. We get it started, and we could always have another story to tell, or another thing that we need to communicate with each other.
I would imagine. Could you say the name one more time for me? I wasn't getting every word of it. Her name.
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Thank you.
And she died, must be 10 years ago, at least. Anyway, time telescopes. But we just talked to her son last week, and he said that her book on death and dying has sold more copies in the last month than it had in any month prior to that.
Why do they know why?
Yeah, he's been carrying on her work and taking the book around the world, and it's caught on again. But the amount of people who are now interested in what Elizabeth had to say at that time is amazing. It's like the people who are reaching out to my book, because the books that I wrote prior to this one were all about medicine, about the disease and all of that. But they didn't have the juice in them that was actually what worked with the healing process. So this is written for that reason.
I love it. Well, we're going to get talking about your book at the end, too. I just have a couple more questions. Is there a famous person that's living today that you would like to sit down and have a cup of tea and a conversation with?
Oprah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You two would be like this. You would be like kindred souls.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll put this out, Oprah. If you catch this interview, you can have a cup of tea with this precious woman and
Okay.
enrich your life. Um, okay, so I wonder, I know you have mentored many, 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 many people. Do you have a mentor? Somebody that mentored you?
Jesus.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect that one.
Well,
Didn't expect it at
I,
all.
he helped me find my voice because when I was growing up, I was so dyslexic and I couldn't read, and I had to repeat first grade twice and all of that. So all through the years, I never trusted my voice. If I
Mm-hmm.
wrote something or said something, I always was questioning whether it was the right thing. Did I say it properly?
Sure.
Was it until I was 93 years old and I had a dream. And in this dream, I saw myself as coming out of the tent in the jungles of India and checking out the flap of the tent because um, I knew in the dream that it was a Sunday morning, and I knew in the dream that our family was not supposed to sing anything but hymns or bhajans on Sunday. Well, I, as a 9-year-old smart aleck, thought I knew more than anybody about that subject, and there were songs I wanted to sing, and so what I was doing was checking out to make sure my brother wasn't out there because he'd tattle on me, and then I'd be in trouble. So he wasn't there, and I ran as fast as I could to my mango tree, climbed clear up to the top, and I was singing. I was singing any old thing I wanted to sing, and I was just having a ball. But every so often in the dream, I'd look over my shoulder, and Jesus was up in the tree with me. So I look over my shoulder and I say, Jesus loves the little children, right? And he's laughing. And he says, yes, he's laughing. So I go back to my singing and then I get to thinking, did he really say yes? So I go back over my shoulder and I say to him, Jesus still loves the little children, right? And he is really cracking up now. He's really laughing. And he says, yes. And so I wake up at that point and I'm laughing and singing. And I say to myself, it's time that you trusted your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, I began to not have to ask others. So, life is amazing. And we either live it or we try to get over it or get around it or something. And we can't. We have to live it. And as we live it, wow, wow, things happen.
Wow, what an answer. That really leads me then into my next question. And with all that's happened to you, what has been the greatest lesson in your life?
Loving people, even the people that you don't really like, trying to find something that's lovable in them because love is what connects us. Love and
Mm,
life, the two essences of life. And see, I put together in my mind 5 L's that I call they're kind of sort of ground for me to sort of build on and understand things for myself. The first two are life and love. They don't exist without the other. The baby grows within the mother and it gets its first breath when it becomes an individual person. But until then, they are one. So life and love start out as one, but they manifest as separate aspects of our being. The third one is laughter. Laughter without love is cruel, it's mean, it's cold, it breaks up families, it causes wars. But laughter with love is joy and happiness. And the fourth one is labor. Labor without love is, oh, I got to go to work, too many diapers, this is too hard. But labor with love is bliss. It's why you do what you're doing. It's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's what makes our hearts sing. It's the real thing. So labor with love is bliss. And the fifth one is listening. Listening without love is empty sound.
Yeah.
Gong, gong, but listening with love is understanding. So when we put love into context with the things that we're doing in life, it becomes real, it becomes important, and it becomes what I'm living for.
Well, thank you so much for that. As always, Gladys, you just enlighten with such eloquence. I wanted to ask you, but I think you just answered it. If you were invited to speak to the United Nations, what would your message be to the world?
Life would have to be love and hope and peace and the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
And reaching out to each other with that, not with suspicion and stuff. It would be like the Indian kids trying to get the white color off my arm,
Right.
It's that accepting each other where we are and not trying to get the color off.
Well, I'm just, one of the things that I talked to the publisher of Grand Magazine when we were talking about this interview, and she said to me, I'd really like to know, so many people have this fear of aging and of getting old. So what would you say? What advice do you have about people that have this fear or concerned about aging?
Enjoy the age you're in because you're going to get older. And it's what a wow. I mean, why not experience what it is that you're doing and live it, not just try to get over it or jump around it or try not to be it or whatever. Because, I mean, every age of my life has been a wow.
Yeah, yeah, it has. So just live through it. I got it. Um, you know, I love the story of people may not know why I have this picture of you on a tricycle. And I know that you love to ride your tricycle. And recently, not that long ago, about a month ago, you hit a pothole and flipped off your bicycle and had to go to ER. What happened when you saw the ER doctor? Can you tell that story?
Well, he was surprised that I had been on a tricycle. I mean, he said, well, what in the world were you doing on a tricycle? And I said, I was riding it. But the tricycle bucked me off. It got stuck in a little rut, and it threw me like a bucking horse. So it's a tricycle's fault. It's not mine. And I've got the tricycle on my porch in shame. He's being punished.
That's hysterical. Yeah, I heard the doctor said, now let me get this straight. You're 103 and you fell off your tricycle riding it in the streets. In
Not in the street, in my own driveway.
driveway.
Yeah.
Gosh, so crazy. Well, I'm going to, my daughter Michelle wanted to ask you if you always have been like enjoying sports. You a sports advocate?
If
Are you a sports advocate? Do you like to do sports growing up? And did you have a favorite sport that you like to do?
Yeah,
What, walking, running, bicycle,
yeah,
tennis?
whatever it is, it's available right now. My walker, I walk outside with my walker, and his name is what's his name? Skywalker.
Oh, I love it. Luke.
Skywalker and I walk outside, and I'm not allowed to walk outside according to my kids without somebody being with me. But when I was riding my tricycle, my son John was with me in front, and so when he bucked me off and I landed broke my ribs and stuff, I was able to get back up and get on the tricycle again, but then I realized I hurt.
Yeah.
And
The fact that you even got up is a blessing. So I'm glad that you're healing and you're getting better and you were able to have this interview because I want people to know about the well-lived life. I've got a picture of your book cover here. I'm sorry because it's so blurry, but there you are. Tell us a little bit about your book, and I know that we've covered some of the material that's in it already. Um, so yeah, what can you tell us?
well, there's some 6 secrets that I talk about, and they are interesting. But we're having a new edition of it coming out. What's the date, John?
April.
April 2nd. There's a paperback book coming out, and we'd like to have people purchase that. So you can do it by Zooming, or you can do
Amazon?
yeah, but they can also use my name. John, tell them.
GladysMcGarey.com.
Okay, just from the website, from your website.
Yeah.
Not doctor, just GladysMcGarey.com, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, and I know I have some of the secrets listed here. Spend your energy wisely.
Yeah.
All life needs to move.
Not wisely, wildly.
Oh, see how bad I am. And I think I even have a picture of that. I should put that one up now. Hang on, let me find it. It's always, I keep hitting the wrong little carrot. There we go. And this is use your energy wildly, not wisely. I love it.
Yeah. If you don't, it's why not? Because your energy is there to be used, and there are ways in which you can do it that are amazing.
Yes.
Think about this. Here I am at 102, 3, whatever I am.
103.
103. And I'm talking to people around the world, face to face. Now, I mean, if that is, that's pretty wild.
It is. It is wild for
And
sure.
what a joy it is.
Agreed. Well, the book coming out on April 2nd, The Well Lived Life, is going to help people see a new freshness, not only about themselves, but the power of the love, which I think has been the center of this conversation between you and I, Gladys. You brought it up so many times. I feel so much love just being able to talk to you and have this time with you. And now I'm going to have so much love spreading this message through all my connections and have it be something that we can really lift up the world with. You're a light, and you're just the epitome of love, in my opinion.
And isn't it going to be fun? I mean, think of the people you're going to get to talk to, see, and enjoy other people's perspectives and all of that. I mean, life is a wow.
Life is a wow. I think I even have something like that. Hang on, let me look and see if I can find it. Yeah, I do. Hold on, let's see if it's going to show you this. Wow. Oh, this silly thing. It's because of that. There we go. Life's a wow. So, Dr. Gladys, we're going to wrap it up. And I just want to know if you have anything else that you thought I should have asked, or something else you want to say before we close out this special time together.
I do. Life and love are what it's all about. And if we can just put that into as much as we can with each day that we live, it really is an amazing, amazing process.
Agreed. Dr. Gladys, thank you so much. I'm sending you out a big heart. Lots of love. Just again, and thanks your sons for being there and helping us along with this. Just know that you always have me in your corner. I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of you personally, you professionally, and I just want everybody to get out there and buy your book and enjoy their life to the fullest.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, darling.
Love you all.
Love you.